Okay, so he doesn't have to pause anything. I'll have to lower that.
Okay, everyone, we are live. Welcome to the Paranormal Graveyard. I am your host, Roger Belt, along with the lovely Christina Corsetti.
Hello, everybody.
And tonight we have Rob Gutro with us. And Rob is an author, investigator, the whole 9 yards. And we have an interesting show planned for you. So everybody just sit back, get your pen notebook out. You're going to want to take notes. Having said this, Christina, as always.
Sure. Well, Rob, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Okay. Well, first of all, I'm a paranormal investigator on the Inspired Ghost Tracking Group in Hanover, Maryland, and I've been doing that since about 2010. I'm actually a medium on the group, and I learned that I had the ability to talk to the dead when I was about 13 years old, and my grandfather scared the life out of me as a spirit when he appeared in front of me.
Oh.
So since then, I lived in a haunted house when I went to college. It was all by accident. And I had a dog that passed away in 2005, and he really opened the door for me to develop my abilities. So,
oh, wow.
So I've written 4 books about the paranormal, 2 about people and 2 about pets. We'll be talking about one of the books, Lessons Learned from Talking to the Dead, with some of the haunted places and lessons I've learned tonight. I guess in my daytime job, I'm actually a meteorologist, so I do science during the day.
That's awesome.
And for another hobby, I do dog rescue. So I'm pretty busy.
Yeah.
Dog rescue is awesome too.
Oh, absolutely.
So, as a meteorologist, what's with all this daggum rain?
What's that? When's it going to rain?
What's with all the rain?
Oh, well, it depends on what part of the country you're in. What part of the country are you in?
I'm in West Tennessee, but all here and down below me and around me down there is all flooded, and it's like, just nuts.
Well, it's it is the spring. So
I know, I am up in Mass. It won't stop raining over here, and I'm like, will you just stop raining?
Yeah, so the springtime is the season when we get the transition between the cold winter temperatures and the warm summertime temperatures, and it's really a push and pull of the jet stream, and the jet stream is actually what guides storms. So you have the cold air coming in from the north, and you have the warm air coming up from the south, and they battle and they meet, and that's where you get storms that travel. So right now the jet stream has been kind of like a sine wave over the south. That's why you're getting all the rain. Yeah.
Yeah, we've been getting
so cool.
down in this area.
I find that very interesting. All right, well,
save some rain for us, okay? We're in the Mid-Atlantic. We could use it.
Well, I'm sure some of the people down here would gladly pump some of it up there for you if they could.
All right, we'll take it.
Missouri's flooded. A lot of flooding going on down there from what I've been seeing in the last few minutes.
Yeah, and you've got a lot of tornadic weather too, of course, from these severe storms. So, yeah, everybody needs to be safe and pay attention to the National Weather Service alerts down there. Exactly. And everywhere, for that matter.
Okay. I just wanted to bring that up because it seems like all it does is rain down here anymore. You get 1 day of sunshine, 3 days of rain. What the heck?
I know. That's what I'm getting to, Roger. All right.
I mean, every now and then.
Well, one of your books is very interesting to me, and is Lessons Learned from Talking to the Dead. What lessons can you discuss with us tonight, and what have you learned?
Well, Christina, the Lessons Learned from Talking to the Dead was my second book, and I actually updated and revised it just in December of 2016. So it's got a lot of new information in it, and I've enhanced the things that I've learned since I first wrote it. So in one of the chapters that I call Lessons Learned from Talking to the Dead, I outlined 14 different things that I've learned from talking to people on the other side. And one of them is, and one that's very near and dear to my heart as well as yours, I know, is that all animals have a soul and they all cross over. That's really a very strong point.
Before I go any further, I wanted to ask you about that because a lot of people really don't believe that animals have souls, or they don't go to the same heaven that we do. And to me, everything has a soul.
Yes.
You know what I mean? An animal obviously definitely has a soul, so they would, they would cross over just like we cross over.
Absolutely. And that came from a religion or two religions, and it's just nonsense because there are a number of religions actually that do understand that all living things have souls. And the bottom line is, when I define a soul in my book, so a soul is memories, personality, and knowledge. And anyone that watches a living thing, whether it be a wild squirrel that knows how to hunt food and build a nest and stay away from bad weather, to a pet, to a lion, to anything, they have intelligence, obviously intelligence. They have their own personalities. They have memories because they know what they do. If anything didn't have a soul, it would be a mindless zombie. So for whatever religions out there say that animals don't have souls, that's just people that really don't understand what a soul is.
Okay.
So everybody crosses over, and you're right. And actually, we all go to the same place. Why? Because we're all energy when we pass away. So that energy collectively belongs to the cosmos, the universe. And some people call it heaven. Others people call it paradise or Valhalla or Elysian, whatever you want to call it. It's all the same. It's the energies that run through the cosmos. That's the other side.
Okay. All right. So now here's a question. Can they be earthbound like earthbound spirits and not cross over?
Yes, absolutely. We can have we can have earthbound ghosts that are animals, and we can have those that cross over in spirit.
Now, we know why they don't want to cross over in spirit, because they're afraid of the judgment on the other side or whatnot, or other reasons to want to stay behind. But what would be the reason why an animal would want to stay behind and not cross?
Sometimes animals stay behind because they like their home, just like people do, and they think that they want to stay there. They're comfortable there. Other times they stay because they want perhaps their pet parent is still alive, and they resist going into the light. Even though when our pets pass, they're usually beckoned or summoned into the light by our relatives.
Oh, okay. Very nice.
Okay, so I'll move on to the next one. The next one actually is related to we just touched upon religions, but basically the afterlife is not about religion. It's about spirituality. It's about energy. That's what it's about. Religions are all developed by man, and that's different peoples and different cultures' understanding of the afterlife. So religion acts as a guideline. But its spirituality is really the foundation of it. So the second thing I learned is that you don't need to be baptized, if you will, to go into the light, to have a peaceful place. Sometimes people have emailed me and said, my baby passed away. I gave birth to a stillborn baby. I'm horrified that my baby is going to hell because it wasn't baptized. Well, that's just not true. That's not true at all.
Okay, that's good to know.
Every living thing is energy, and we can cross over. You mentioned people who are very conservatively religious. I find in paranormal investigating that those people who are the most religious or most strict in their religion are the ones that stay behind, because they are afraid of the judgment on the other side. Yeah. And honestly, there is no judgment on the other side.
There isn't. It's
all love and forgiveness and peace. That's what it is. So people need not be afraid. So that's the second.
Nice.
So hopefully that'll give some listeners some comfort out there.
Absolutely.
The third thing I learned is that people who are sick in life, whether they're mentally or physically ill, or they've lost a limb or lost hearing or whatever, they're totally made whole in the afterlife, because in the afterlife we're really energy. We're not a physical thing. We're basically energy. So I'm sure. Have you received questions from people who have asked if their loved ones have regained their leg or their sight on the other side?
No, I've never been asked that.
Well, I've gotten some of those questions, and oftentimes when we dream of our loved ones, which is one of the ways that our loved ones will convey that they're on the other side, they come into your dreams, is that they appear whole. And the reason for that is,
okay, that makes sense though.
Yeah, they're all energy.
It does make sense.
So that's another thing that really keeps a lot of people up at night. You know, they want to know if their loved ones are healthy and happy on the other side, and the answer is yes, they are. Everything is restored except the physical part.
Yes.
So,
but can't they also come back to you in a way that you would know them, so they would show those lost limbs? If they were to come back to you?
Yes, they can
you
come
know what
to.
I mean? Because
yeah,
they also
they can come back to mediums and show that they have a limb missing, and that's only strictly to identify themselves for who they are.
Exactly. That's what I was trying to get. Okay.
But that often happens usually only to mediums. That mediums see the lost limbs. The loved ones don't usually see the lost limbs because the spirit wants the loved ones to know that they're whole on the other side.
I understand. That's understandable.
I have a question for you.
Okay.
Every living thing has a soul.
Yes.
Then that would mean a tree has a soul, a plant has a soul.
It does. There's an energy in a tree. It grows, it lives, it thrives.
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily have the intelligence like we have intelligence.
Well, to a degree, I disagree because.
Well, I mean, conscious thought. It doesn't.
Have you ever noticed when you play certain types of music around a plant, they act differently?
Sure, they're living things. Absolutely.
If they have any kind of intelligence, they would know how to differentiate between the stuff they don't like and the stuff they do like.
That's true. That's true. They do have that because they're living beings. So I use the word intelligence loosely. So I don't mean somebody that can drive a car versus somebody that can't.
Well, if I saw my alfalfa plant driving a car down the road, I'd be a little worried, but.
Then you'd be in another another area of paranormal investigation.
Right.
Roger would have the swamp thing in his house, Christina.
Right.
Yeah, I know, right?
I don't know which one of them would last longer around here. My 3 dogs are it.
I don't know. But yeah.
Nobody.
So Roger, every living thing does have a soul. It could, because it has energy, and whatever grows. I mean, you know, we've done scientific studies in the scientific world where you can actually measure what is equivalent to a tree or a branch or a plant screaming when it's broken off.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
So, yeah. So, and that's basically sound that they use. It's not screaming like we would because they don't have vocal cords, but
exactly.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah. Well, so remember that next time you go and pick a flower. Okay.
If you ever sit out in the woods on a windy day and you just sit and listen, you can hear the trees talk.
Yeah. Well, it certainly sounds that way. You know, maybe does Roger live in a haunted forest, Christina? I don't know.
I don't know. Is it Roger? Roger, I'm surrounded by woods over here, and I'm telling you, the woods over here are haunted. You feel like you're being followed in them.
Roger's in with nature.
Are you in Salem, Massachusetts, Christina?
I'm in Beverly, which is 5 minutes away from Salem.
Okay. Yeah, the Salem-Beverly area is quite haunted. So.
Yeah, I'm surrounded with 3/4 by woods. So, yeah, I know all about that.
So let me jump to the next lesson I learned from talking to them.
Absolutely.
And that is that everyone can go into the light unless they choose to remain as an earthbound ghost. And I know we just talked about that a little bit. You know, certain religions, again, I mention religions often because religions are the things that put restrictions on what people believe in the afterlife. And so some people think that people who are tattooed can't go into the light. You know, I think that's in the Christian Bible. Or people that eat shrimp. Now, those things have kind of been forgotten by modern day Christianity, but you know, some of the alt-right Christians say that gay people can't cross over, and that's a bunch of baloney.
Yeah.
You know, if tattooed
here's a question.
everybody can cross over.
Yeah, well, yeah, everyone has the ability to cross over, but they choose not to.
Sure.
But why would you choose not to? And we all know the reasons why. But why would you choose not to if you're able to come back when you crossed over? You're still able to visit. You'd be better off crossing over because you can't move forward in the afterlife until you cross over.
Absolutely, that's a great point. And it's often because once we die, we wake up on the other side, basically as energy, and we're still earthbound. And usually the light opens the passageway that enables us to cross over. We make a choice right then when our physical body dies. Sometimes people who are so passionate about staying with their loved ones here on Earth will stay behind. Others may have things that they had forgotten to do, and they think they can accomplish them, so they stay behind as an earthbound ghost.
Yeah.
Others don't cross over because they're afraid of crossing over. So there's a whole host of reasons why people stay. But like you said, everybody should cross over because as a spirit, they have the ability to contact anybody anywhere in the world at any time and watch over them. Ghosts, however, earthbound ghosts, are usually fixed to one location, and they can only interact with people in that one location. And on rare instances, they can, of course, attach themselves to somebody and follow somebody, but it's not very common.
So being earthbound, you don't get to walk the streets like you do on Earth. You're stuck in a location. Just one location?
For the most part. But, you know, if somebody dies in the outside, or if somebody loved being outside, like people who hunt in the woods and they're killed in the woods, they can roam in the woods for eternity as a ghost.
You have a broader range when you cross over.
Yes, much broader range. You can go anywhere in the world.
Everywhere. You can come back and go everywhere. So we want to cross over.
Yes, and you know you can. There've been reports where people in spirit have actually contacted multiple people on the Earth in different locations around the Earth at the same time.
Okay. Yeah, they can do that.
Have you ever had an experience
I remember.
where you've sensed that somebody passed away, and they did? Have you ever had that experience, either of you?
No, I haven't. Roger, have you?
Not necessarily where they passed away, but I think I have a big thing about visitations from, how do you word this? Someone who has, like, the moment they pass, they go visit one of their loved ones, let them know, hey. You know.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yes, that's what we're referring to.
Yeah.
Is that and they can do that to multiple people at the same time in different locations.
You know, and then there's the cases where just before they pass, they may show up.
Yeah, they can leave their body. Absolutely, they do some astral projection.
Right.
Right here.
And then, you know, you may see them, and then the next morning you get a phone call, your uncle so-and-so just passed away. You know?
Yes.
And you're like, well, yeah, he come and see me last night, you know.
So the next lesson that I learned is that people who commit suicide, of course, can go into the light, just like people who are murdered go into the light. Again,
I'm glad you mentioned that.
You know,
all right, go ahead.
Again, there are these ideas that certain people and animals can't go into the light were established by different religions around the world, and not all around the world, because Buddhism and Hinduism don't believe any of that stuff. They believe that everybody transitions, and basically, and you know, they pretty much got it right. Is that anybody has the ability to go in the light. Suicide victims go in the light unless they feel like they feel guilty that they took their own life and they need forgiveness, in which case, if you know somebody who's committed suicide, simply tell them that they're forgiven because they can hear you.
Okay.
Sound is energy, and their energy is a ghost, and they'll cross over. So don't worry about that.
Okay, good. That's good to know. Thank you.
Excuse me.
Don't cross over yet, Roger. We're not done yet.
Right.
Okay.
So what the sixth lesson I've learned is that we choose how we want to appear in the afterlife. What I mean by that is that we pick the time in our lives here that we felt that we looked best. So in my easy there. So when my dad passed away in 2008, he was 79. But my dad often appears to me in his 30s because that's when he was most comfortable in life. So you know, you may dream of your loved ones, Christina, and you may see them at a younger age. Has that ever happened to you?
No, my father passed away when I was 17 by suicide, and he only came to me once. I seen him in a dream once. That was it. But I remember seeing him, but I don't remember what it was about. You know what I mean? So that's the only thing that ever happened to me. But no, I don't see dead relatives in my dreams.
Okay. Well, for those who are listening, if they do, if they need that message to know that their loved ones are on the other side, all you need to do is ask your loved ones to come into your dreams before you go to sleep. And it's critical. It's critical that you leave a piece of paper and a pen on your nightstand so that when you wake up, you immediately write down your dream, because I know within 2 minutes you will forget everything.
Yep. Unless, of course, you have one of those really vivid ones that you just don't forget.
Like if you fall out of the bed, Roger. I'm just kidding.
No, actually, I've had 3 that I remember basically every detail to, and they were really vivid, like I was there. You know, I mean, but it wasn't here, and I can't tell you where I was. I just know that I was there.
Okay. Well, that's pretty rare. That's pretty neat that you can remember that.
And one of the weirdest things about all 3 of those dreams was I was asleep when I was dreaming it, but at some point I was awake and still dreaming it.
That's wild.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
So, yeah, those were really unique.
Well, make sure you always have a piece of paper and a pen by your nightstand, and you may remember more, even the less vivid ones. So
yeah, that's what I tell people all the time, is write them down, and then you can analyze them and go over it.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, Christina, I get emails from people often that not only ask about their pets and their people on the other side, but also they have dreams about their loved ones, and they ask me to interpret them. And
yes,
fortunately, I'm able to do that because I call upon their loved ones to give me kind of an explanation about what in the world they were trying to convey. So
that's nice. That's nice. Yes,
it's more of a puzzle than anything. So I'll move on to number 7. This is another one that's really important for a lot of people. That infants, whether they're aborted or they're miscarried, all cross over into the light. Every one of them. They don't need an earthly ceremony to cross. It's really all about the welcoming energy of love on the other side that brings them over. And for anybody that's had an abortion or who has miscarried a child, just know that your loved ones are on the other side, and they actually bring the child over. They don't wait for the child in spirit to make that decision. They take them.
That's nice.
So yeah, so that's a lot of people have a lot of panic about that. One of the most important messages that Spirit tells me for the living, in a good way, is that they want us to be optimistic and they want us to be happy. They really just want us to appreciate whatever we have. And a lot of times I get messages that materialism really is not important. It's not how much
Okay.
you have. It's not how wealthy you are. You can have nothing. I mean, you can live day to day and you can still be happy. It all depends on how you wake up and decide you're going to have whether a good day or a bad day.
No, that's true.
Yeah, and you know, I'm generally an optimist, but there are days that I get up and I say, "Oh, this is just not a good day."
Yeah. We all have those days.
Getting into the aspect of religions, and we've been bringing this up off and on. Christianity believes that up until 7 years old, a child is innocent. After that age, they're supposed to know right from wrong, and they're not supposed to sin, or they're going to go to hell. What is your belief on that? I mean, what do you think?
Well, I don't know who set the age, but you know, I think we all have an ingrained sense an inborn sense that we know what's right and what's wrong, and certainly as we mature, we realize the difference. But you know, I wouldn't put an age to it. People know if they're hurting somebody. People know if they're stealing something. People know if they're cheating on something. You know, it doesn't. There's no age limit. Again, it's a man-made marker.
Yeah, it's all about religion. Yeah, exactly.
Well,
Yeah.
No.
So
the reason I brought it up is because that is somewhere in the Bible.
well, you know, I'm an ex-Catholic, and Catholics don't read the Bible, so I wouldn't know. But my husband was brought up Baptist, and
And see, I've had people tell me that, well, you know, so-and-so says there's a child spirit in this house. Well, that's impossible because anyone under the age of 7 went straight to heaven when they died.
Yeah, but they
I
can
don't
still
buy
come
that.
back. They can still come back and show themselves.
Absolutely, they can come back anytime as a spirit, or they may choose to stay earthbound as a ghost. If you know, if they're afraid to leave their mom and dad when they die at a young age.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and you know, that again, that's an individual choice. It has nothing to do with religion whatsoever. So, but again, spirits want us to be happy. You know, everybody knows. I'm sure everybody knows an optimist in their life, and everybody knows a pessimist in their life. And the thing to do is focus on the good stuff that you have, no matter how small. You know, it can. And this is an important point that a lot of people miss every single day in life. Tomorrow morning, get up and go outside and look at the sky. Whether it's raining where you are, Roger, or whether it's sunny where you are, Christina, it doesn't matter. Just look up and look at the sky. And just look at the beauty that's up there. I can tell you that so many people don't even look up when there's a bright blue, beautiful sky and sunshine and white puffy clouds. And
Yeah, I do.
yeah, so if you take 30 to 60 seconds and just look up, you can change your day. Just appreciate something simple. You know, and recognize that an email, like an email from you, Christina, or a phone call from a friend, or just getting a green light in traffic. Think about that tomorrow, those little things, and your day will be so much better. That's what Spirit wants us to do.
Also, I look at storms because I'm a spotter, but but I think
the little things in life.
Right, it's the little things in life, and Spirit tells me too that we often overlook those little things, and it's the little things that will make us happy. You know, for those of us who are pet parents, we know that pets are unconditional love, and you know, take a minute to hug your dog or hug your cat. So. Is there anything else you wanted to touch upon about looking at life and choosing happiness before I move on to the next one?
No, go ahead.
Okay. All right. Number 9. I feel like we need a sign with a number on it.
I know, right?
9. Keep on those little movie claps on.
Yes.
No, they really are.
Okay, so number 9. Again, the spirits often address some of the negative things that happen in life because they want us to overcome them. And number 9 is that hatred, abuse, bullying, and discrimination of anyone is wrong. So,
Yes.
there. Here in the Mid-Atlantic, I was just reading about more bullying going on at schools. There's discrimination that happens all the time. Unfortunately, in the last year, we've seen an increase in the violence toward minorities and hate groups, and
That's going to go on regardless.
it will.
You know.
It will. It's for some reason it's been exacerbated in the last year, which is really unfortunate. And I don't follow religion, but we have to respect people of all religions.
Exactly.
Because
I don't.
it's their right. My belief should not be thrust upon everybody else's. So, and unfortunately, that's something that people don't learn until after they die, and then they regret it.
Yeah.
So bullying, hatred, abuse, and discrimination of all kinds is absolutely wrong. Spirits want us to put ourselves in the shoes of the person that we're looking at and say, how would you like to be treated that way?
You know what I mean?
Well, you should, but you're a good person though, Christina. Telling you this is like talking to a wall because you already know that. You treat people with kindness, but there are a lot of people that don't realize that they're being discriminatory or they're bullying or I'm a gay man. I grew up with a lot of discrimination. I was bullied. I was hated just for being who I am. I am who I am, and that leads to the next thing that love is love and love is good and there's nothing wrong with love.
Exactly.
Love is actually the foundation of spirit. So for people who bully and discriminate and hate, those are the people that wind up being earthbound ghosts.
Because they're afraid to cross over because of the judgment.
That's right. They realize once they die on the other side that they have done these horrible things to other people. Yes. And then they need forgiveness. So they get stuck. So that's why when we go into like prisons and paranormal investigations, or there's a lot of ghosts there. Have you guys? Now I'm going to sidetrack for a minute. Have you guys both of you been on paranormal investigations in prisons?
Yes.
Can you tell me your experiences about the types of personalities you encountered there?
Well, I don't have certain abilities to be able to feel that. You know what I mean? I have to wait for the evidence to come back and see what happens.
So do you remember any EVPs, either of you, EVPs about what was said from ghosts, or did anybody get pushed or scratched or anything like that?
No.
Okay. Well, oftentimes that will happen when you're in a place where a lot of people have regrets.
Okay.
So the bottom line is, treat people with kindness. And if you don't know them, just be cordial to them. If you don't agree with them, just be cordial to them. Don't hate or discriminate. So that's what Spirit wants us to know. Because that leads to number 11, which is those who hate and discriminate will certainly pay for it.
Now how does one pay for it? Explain that.
You get stuck on Earth as a ghost, and sometimes if you don't run into a medium as a ghost who knows you're there, who can help you cross over, you will be here for eternity.
So you don't have. So do they have the option to cross over? They decide to stay, and then they don't have the option again to come back until someone crosses them over.
That's correct. Being a ghost is like being trapped in an isolation prison cell, where once the door closes, you're stuck. For some reason, they don't know how to cross over, or they can't cross over after a certain period of time passes, and that period of time is indeterminate. I don't know how long that is. Nobody does.
That's why angry spirits become angry because of these reasons.
They do. They become even more angry.
they're a jerk in life, they're a jerk in the afterlife. So it's a combination.
I say that all the time.
Yeah.
If you're a good person in life, you're good in death. If you're a jerk in life, you're a jerk in death. So
People need to know that once that door opens, you cross over, and if you don't have that chance, it closes. What's that, Roger?
I said I wished I had a quarter for every time I said that. You're an asshole in life, you're going to be one after life. Plain and simple.
That's good to know. I appreciate that, Rob.
So, and here's the other thing is that it really, being an Earthbound Ghost, Christina, is really what hell is. Because I want you to think about this. I want everybody to think about this. If you are trapped on Earth as a ghost, only certain people like mediums can hear you. And they are the only ones that can help you cross into the light. And, you know, there aren't a whole lot of mediums that go into places where ghosts are. It's the luck of the draw, really. So as paranormal investigators, you both know that a lot of times when you get an EVP, most common EVP is help me.
Yes.
So what they want help with is to cross over and to get forgiveness. And there's really no way for them to communicate either with their loved ones in spirit. That's the other caveat. Although they're dead and their loved ones may be dead in spirit, they can see them, but they can't communicate with them, and they can't get help from them either. So,
that makes sense. Okay.
So, you know, to me, that's what hell is. Hell is not a place with little burning devils and fires and pitchforks and stuff. That, again, that also was an image that was created by man. And yeah,
correct. I agree with that.
So
okay, so we create our own hell.
We do. We create our own. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's profound.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
So
this is great stuff.
Well, thank you. I've learned a lot of lessons from talking to dead people. So number 12 is know the rules to live by. And that means spirits want us to live better lives. So a couple of things just to reiterate: don't be hateful, treat others as you would like them to treat you, put yourself in their shoes, stop yourself and stop others from hateful behavior. If you have bad feelings towards someone, try to understand who they are or understand why they're behaving that way. Now, I know that's not easy. You know, I will tell you that when somebody I used to work with found out that I'm a medium, she tried to use that to get me fired from my job.
Oh, wow.
And my job has nothing to do with me being a medium, by the way.
Correct.
So she did everything she could. And, you know, I went through hell going lawyer and so forth. And she was being hateful and discriminatory and just terrible. But, you know, I had faith and optimism, and she was proven wrong, and she's gone. So.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's good.
Be the better person.
Yeah. That brings another question. Exactly. You are a weather forecaster or a meteorologist.
I am a meteorologist.
And
I can't tell you where though.
And you are also a medium. So, do you know when bad weather is coming?
Christina, I think he's stuck on the bad weather thing.
No.
I know, right?
Do the two ever mingle together? Do you know, like, when something's coming as far as weather-wise?
I know by looking at computer models, and I know by looking at radar, but no, it has nothing to do with the mediumship. No.
Okay. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. You know, like, do you ever get that gut feeling, hey, you know, there's a bad storm coming, you know, and then it does?
Sure, when my knees hurt. Yeah.
Okay, I'll shut up now.
Okay.
I
love playing with you, Roger.
The thought just occurred to me, you know, medium, meteorologist. do these ever connect? You know, or like
They do, because both of them are all about, it's about energy in the atmosphere and energy of the living and the dead.
yeah, either just before you ever see it on the radar screen, right? Do you ever have one of those? Well, there's going to be a blip right about there. It's fixed to come up,
No, that would be a psychic, actually. So that would be the difference between a psychic. There's a difference between a psychic and a medium. A psychic is actually able to sense what energies are working so that it will shape the future. A medium only talks to people and pets who passed.
Oh, okay. Glad you enlightened me, because I thought they were all kind of mixed together.
Yeah, so you want a psychic weather forecaster. That's what you want.
Yeah.
Okay, that's awesome.
All right.
All right. So
we get two more lessons.
Yep.
So the number 13 is spirits want us to celebrate the lives of people and pets who passed away. What do I mean by that? They don't want us to grieve anymore. Instead of grieving for the loss of the physical, they want us to understand that they are still there in spirit, and they want us to do things maybe in memory of them. So, for instance, if you've lost a pet, one of the ways you can acknowledge them is either adopt another pet and give them the love that you gave your other one that passed, or donate to a rescue, or volunteer for a shelter or something. Do something in memory of that pet, because you can return the love that they've always given you to somebody else. So pay it forward, kind of thing.
Yeah.
right. Okay.
Just like people, instead of I've talked to some people who have lost a parent and are just crippled in grief for over a year or 2 years. They can't go out of the house. They've quit their jobs. They're just miserable. And you know what? Our spirits don't want that at all. Spirits want us to get up off our butt and go enjoy our life, because life here in the physical plane is very short. And spirits are around us to watch us and guide over us. And their time has come. So they want us to celebrate the memories of their lives, but enjoy our life while we have it here. That's a really important point.
Okay.
Do either of you know somebody that has lost a parent or a partner or whatever and just can't get over the grief?
Yes. It's hard for people.
It certainly is hard, and it's totally understandable. But what they need to know is that our loved ones are in spirit and are helping them. So Christina, you can tell them that I recommended asking them, having them ask their loved ones to appear in their dreams.
Okay.
That's the easiest way for spirit to communicate with us. And
okay.
There are many others that I wrote about in the book, but and they're always welcome to email me if they're having severe issues, and I can try and help them. And I don't charge anything, by the way, for people who email me.
Okay.
So the last and final lesson is actually exactly what I was saying. Spirits are always connected to you, and there is no need to grieve forever.
Okay.
When it's our time, they're going to be there in the light, whether it's the people that we lost or the pets that we lost. They're all going to be wagging their tails and so forth. One thing related to that is reincarnation. People have asked me if people or pets will come back before they die, and the answer is no. Generally, no. Generally, our people and pets connected to us in this life will wait for everybody they know to have died before we all come back. We have to wait until our contemporaries have passed until we come back. So, people will say, well, my new dog is exhibiting the same habit as my dog that passed 3 years before. So obviously my old dog has come back. And the answer is no. Your old dog has not come back. Your old dog's spirit has come back and taught your new dog a habit that they had.
I get you.
Yes.
I got you. Okay.
So don't look for somebody to come back and reincarnate. It just doesn't happen in this lifetime. They want us to live our lives to the fullest and be happy every day if we can, and they'll all be there guiding us from the other side.
Okay, that actually leads me to a couple of questions about pets. Can pets reincarnate into humans, or no? If you're a pet, you have to become a. If you're an animal, you got to come back as an animal, or can they intertwine?
I have never seen a pet come back as a human, and vice versa.
Okay, all right. So, but they can they reincarnate? Pet animals can reincarnate?
Absolutely. Yep, they reincarnate.
Okay.
They reincarnate as other animals, and people, reincarnate as people. Although, I've met some people that I honestly don't think they were ever human before. So,
okay. Yeah.
If you know what I mean.
Yeah.
What are you trying to say? There's some real piss heads out there?
Well, yeah, you said it, Roger. I didn't. I love how blunt he is.
But hey, this is true.
All right. So can pets or animals be guardian angels?
Absolutely, yes. Pets can guide us to be safe. Pets can also be spirit guides. I know that my dog Buzz, who passed away as a puppy, is one of my spirit guides. And I will actually share something with you about how pets can protect us. Pets in spirit, like humans, can give us premonitions. A premonition is basically a warning not to do something to save yourself from danger or tragedy or grief. That's what a premonition is. So in my Pets in the Afterlife 1 book, I noted that my dog Buzz, who passed away, gave me a premonition. And it's all very odd about the timing. One day after I had adopted my new dog, like 8 months after Buzz, my first dog, was killed by a car by accident, Buzz kept making me feel feelings of dread, not to walk the new dog on the same street that I walked Buzz, where he was killed. And the feeling was really strong. I kept feeling like the leash was going to open on the new dog, just as it did with Buzz, and that her life was in danger. And I couldn't figure it out. And I was really, really scared. And I couldn't understand it. Well, long story short, I walked her a different way. I walked her into a wooded area, and sure enough, the leash opened up. And if I was on the main street, she would have been killed by a car.
Oh, wow.
When I thought about it, my new dog was exactly the same age to the day that Buzz was when he died.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so no such thing as a coincidence. So spirits can give us premonitions as well, and as well as keep us safe and guide us.
There is no such thing as coincidences.
That's
how I was taught.
I was going to ask you if the spirits of our past pets come back to take care of us, to protect them.
Well, and you got your answer before you even asked the question.
Right.
I must be psychic. No, I'm not.
And it could very well be a past pet, but I have and I know this, I've never seen it, but I know that I have a spirit that protects me when I go into haunted locations and all that. I will never go in afraid, because I know something's watching over me. I just don't know who or what.
Excellent.
But I know it's there. I just can't pinpoint it.
It may be your spirit guide. We all have a spirit guide. Sometimes we have 2 or 3, and they don't have to be human. They can be pets.
Well, that's what I was saying. It could possibly be, a past. And I've had many pets that have passed, so it could be any one of them, or more than one of them.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I just know there's something there that watches over me, and I never go afraid. So you kind of answered that question for me, so that's good. Thank you.
Very good.
Well, it leads us to a question, and that's signs from the other side from our pets.
Signs from the other side. Well, there are many signs from the other side. as I mentioned in the beginning, I actually wrote 2 books, Pets in the Afterlife and Pets in the Afterlife 2. And both of them are filled with how to recognize signs from the other side.
Okay.
In short, they can communicate many of the same ways that humans can, human spirits can. And, they can manipulate things in nature like birds, butterflies, feathers, whatever.
Okay.
They use coins sometimes.
That's what I was going to say.
Dreams. They make noises in the house. I can't tell you the hundreds of, actually more than hundreds of people I've talked to that have heard nails of their pet on the floor after their pet had passed away. They've heard a bark or meow. They can feel them on the bed, so they can feel them, hear them, see them, even smell them. Somebody has said that they've smelled the wet fur of their dog. Any of the ways that humans can give signs, pets can give signs, because pets have the intelligence of a 3 to 5 year old child, and that's been proven many times.
Okay.
So for anybody who wants more information, the Pets in the Afterlife books really are. I wrote them to teach people how to look for the signs on their own, so they don't need to call a medium and they don't need to pay a medium to see the signs. All they have to do is just teach themselves.
That's nice. That's nice. I'll pick up those books because I have a collection of books. I have my bookshelf, and I got to get those. Pets in the Afterlife, definitely. It's got to be on my shelf.
On your shelf.
Well, I hope you take it off the shelf and read it.
I love reading. I love reading books.
I'm just playing with you.
I know. Here's a question. Do animals sin?
Do animals sin? Well, sin is also a man-made concept.
Gotcha. Okay.
So, animals do know when they do right and wrong. I mean, if anybody has a dog and you come home and you see the couch torn up, you know that that dog will have its tail between its legs because the dog will know that it's done something wrong.
And hang its head down.
Yes. So, they know right from wrong.
When you come in and you step in a pile of what we used to call, that's not supposed to be there.
Yeah, and they retreat. They retreat. They know they do something wrong. So, yeah. Just like kids. They're just like human children. Yeah.
Well, now, if I have a kid running around the house and I come in and step in a pile of what we call
I want to throw this out there. Every time I give a talk about pets in the afterlife, I always tell people the difference between pet children, and human children is that pets will never grow up. They will never move out. They'll never talk back to you, marry somebody you hate. And, right?
As we speak, I have mine right here below my feet. And she doesn't stray far from where I am.
Excellent. That's love.
That's love. That's my baby right there.
Now, can pets come back with us as deathbed visitors to help us transition?
They do. That's a great question. As a matter of fact, I can give you an example of that. In 2013, in December, my mother had a massive stroke, and she lay in a hospital bed for 5 days in a vegetative state, and she was never going to recover. The doctors, she lived 400 miles away from me, and the doctors, I called the doctor immediately, of course, after my brothers told me what happened, and the doctor said, don't rush up here because she's in a vegetative state. She could be in a coma for months. So they said, take your time, get everything organized. Explain that I had 3 dogs and my husband and I needed to get organized here. So we went up a couple of days later. My mother was still in the same state. And my 2 brothers had stayed there overnights. They were there 24 hours a day next to her. Easy there, Roger. You might not want to smoke. No,
good point.
So what happened was, Christina, is that so my mother knew that she knew that her her sons were all around her. So when my husband and I came to her, we told her it was okay to cross. It was okay to pass. And so I sensed my dad come in, my dad who had died in 2008. And in his arms, I sensed that he had my mother's favorite poodle. Gigi was her name. Now, I bent down to my mom and I told her, and she was, she wasn't conscious. She was in a coma. I said, Mom, Dad's here and he's got Gigi and they're waiting for you on the other side. And so it's okay to go. They'll be there. So as soon as I told her that, we made the decision to leave her bed that night, because my dad told me that it'd be okay. Just go.
Okay.
And we left her that night, and 4 hours later, she passed.
Okay.
And she told me after she passed that she wanted to pass by herself, with nobody in the room, just with my dad and the dog on the other side waiting for her.
Okay.
So pets wait for us on the other side. And there's an important point here too for all of the listeners, because a lot of times people will say they feel guilty for not being in the room when somebody passed. Well, people and pets make their own choice about how they want to pass, whether they want to pass with somebody or whether they want to pass with nobody in the room. So if you weren't by their bedside when they passed, do not feel guilty, because that person made an individual choice to pass when nobody was there or when you weren't there, because they knew that you watching them pass was something that you would never get over for your entire life, and they don't want that stress on you.
Exactly.
So for listeners, never feel guilty if you're not there when a pet or a person passes, because that's the way they want it. They want to do that for your own good, because they love you that much.
Oh, that's great.
Well, you're absolutely right about that. I was in the room when my mother passed, and I watched her take her last breath, and that's something I'll never forget as long as I live.
Wow. It's a very emotional thing, and some people can't handle it, and spirits know whether or not they can. So that pretty much wraps up the lessons in general that I've learned. But of course, there's always more lessons to learn. But
Absolutely.
Just treat everybody the way that you want to be treated.
I always say I have a philosophy: be the kind of person that you would want your spirit to be,
or be the kind of person that your dog thinks you are.
No, but if you're a good, straightforward, honest, upstanding human being while you're here, that's what you're going to be when you go.
Yes, absolutely.
And so that's my philosophy: be what you want to be. Be here what you want to be when you go.
So, dude, would you like to move on to the second part of the and talk about the hauntings? Because we've got 3 different hauntings that I was going to explain to you about.
I need to do the clipboard thing. Part 2.
Part 2, right? You're falling down on the job, Roger. I need that clipboard.
I know it.
I'm just kidding. So 3 of the hauntings that we were going to talk about tonight were pretty cool. One is Ford's Theater in Washington, D.C. That's where President Lincoln was assassinated. The second haunting that I wanted to tell you both about was a store in Baltimore, Maryland called the Book Escape, where I went on one of my very first investigations with the Inspired Ghost Tracking group, and we found a ghost, and we were able to actually put a name to him and confirm his identity. So that was pretty cool.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, nice.
And the last one that I'll mention is another haunting in a mansion called Montpelier Mansion. It's a historic mansion in Laurel, Maryland. So, um, so in Ford's Theater is probably, if anyone has been to Washington, D.C., Ford's Theater is near the downtown area. And of course, John Wilkes Booth assassinated President Lincoln there in 1865 during a play. In 2010, I went there for a production of A Christmas Carol, which was kind of interesting and appropriate because A Christmas Carol is about 3 ghosts. Oddly enough, when I went there, I encountered 3 ghosts of my own. So, nice. And they weren't the ones on stage. So,
but were they past, future, and present?
No, they weren't. They were all past.
Now, that would have been a little bit unique.
Yeah, that would have been, yeah. If I saw a ghost of the future, that would really flip me out. So for those folks who don't know and maybe want a little historic background, because Christina is the queen of history.
Thank you.
And I want to throw a plug in there, Christina, and say that I love all of your posts because I don't know anybody in the paranormal realm that is such an incredible historian on the places they write about. You're uncomparable. There is no one that can compare to you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
So for everybody that follows you, they obviously have a love of history, and they've developed a great knowledge of history as a result of your writings.
Yes.
And I love sharing your stories because they're just amazing. So this one is especially for you because it's about history. And I'm sure you know about the Ford's Theater, but
yes.
So the Ford's Theater is managed by the National Park Service, and it was originally built in 1833, and it was actually used as a church. John Ford bought the building in 1861, and he made it into a theater, and that's when he changed its name to the Ford Theater after him. So, I really didn't know that it was a church before that, but you know, you never know. So on April 14th, 1865 is the date of the assassination, and on that was just 3 days really after General Lee surrendered at the Appomattox Courthouse in Maryland during the Civil War. That's when John Wilkes Booth, an actor, came up behind him in a booth and shot him in the back of the head. John Wilkes Booth then jumped on the stage, as I understand it, and he broke his leg. And then he ran out back and went to Dr. Samuel Mudd's house and had Samuel Mudd fix his leg under duress. I've been to Samuel Mudd's house, by the way, and I just, as an aside, that's also in the book, I think, or in my Ghosts and Spirits book. I ran into the ghost of Dr. Samuel Mudd.
Okay.
He was quite active, and he was adamant that he was innocent. But that's an aside. So, with this, John Wilkes Booth. First of all, there were a couple of other ghosts in the side from John Wilkes Booth, but I guess I'll get to those afterward. I mentioned that John Wilkes Booth went outside and he got on a horse. Well, the Ford's Theater has been renovated, and there's now a gift shop, a really nice gift shop that was actually in part of where the alleyway used to be. I didn't know that either. I knew nothing about the Ford's Theater when I went in there in 2010. So I was walking around the gift shop, and I sensed that there was a presence next to me, and I knew that it was an earthbound ghost. As a medium, I just know whether they're earthbound or whether they're spirit. So I was urged to pick up a map from the gift shop, and when I looked at it, the map said, "This is a map of Booth's escape trail," and I got chills. I realized that the ghost standing next to me was actually John Wilkes Booth.
Wow.
So in my head as a medium, I heard him say, "Yes, I am John Wilkes Booth, and this was my greatest act. This was the site of my greatest act." So he's earthbound, and he's arrogant, and he's proud of his evil deed, and he chose to stay. He chose to stay at the Ford's Theater, the site of his greatest deed. So, I also felt cold spots, and I sensed that he played with the electricity in the gift shop. So I just made a note of all this stuff. So in 2011, I brought my friend Ruth Larkin, who is known as the Beantown Medium. She's listed as one of the top 100 psychics in America, as a matter of fact, in a book that just came out. So I didn't tell her about my experience with John Wilkes Booth's ghost, and I just took her into the gift shop, and we looked around, and of course I started getting a headache again, and then I heard a man say, "Look up." It was not a request from a living person. It was actually John Wilkes Booth's ghost, and I looked up, and I was standing in front of the souvenirs of John Wilkes Booth.
Wow.
And I was like, okay. So as paranormal investigators, you know that ghosts can affect temperature, right? So they'll make you feel cold spots. And cold spots happen when they take the energy of motion of the molecules of air, and they take that energy away, and they slow down the molecules' motion. So fast-moving molecules of air are warm air, slow-moving molecules of air are cold air. That's why you get cold spots when you are in the presence of a ghost. Well, there was a cold spot right there in the gift shop, and he was standing there. And again, he said, "I am proud. This is my greatest achievement." So I didn't say anything, but I called medium Ruthie Larkin over, and as she was walking toward me, her eyes opened wide, and she said, "Rob, there's a really bad energy here. It's a man. He was a really horrible person in life. He was arrogant and he was headstrong." And that's a quote. I'm taking that right out of the book that I wrote.
Okay.
And I told her to look up, and I said, "Ruthie, look up at where you're standing and tell me what you see." And she gasped, and she said, "Oh my gosh, this is the display of John Wilkes Booth." And she knew who it was. Yeah. So Ruthie confirmed my experience, that he was there. So we went over to the gift shop folks, and we asked them if there were any weird experiences. So they confirmed that the lights would turn on and off by themselves, and that doors are unlocked from time to time. And they said sometimes in that gift shop in Ford's Theater that objects are moved, and they know that there's a ghost in that gift shop, and now they know who it is.
Nice.
So it's kind of chilling to know that, John Wilkes Booth is still walking around in that theater.
Now, you said there's no such things as coincidences, but I got a coincidence here for you.
Okay.
All right, it's between Booth and Lincoln.
Okay.
In an interesting coincidence, Edwin Booth saved Abraham Lincoln's son, Robert, from a serious injury or even death.
Mm-hmm.
So Lincoln was waiting on a narrow, crowded platform for a train in Jersey City, New Jersey, when he lost his footing and he fell beneath the slowly moving carriage of a departing train. Pulled to safety before any harm befell him, he turned to thank his rescuer and was surprised to see it was the well-known actor Edwin Booth, the brother of John Wilkes. And what could be considered one of the most remarkable coincidences in history, the son of a president was rescued by the brother of that president's assassin.
I've heard that story before. That is amazing.
Yes.
That is amazing.
Thought I would bring that up.
See, you've already confirmed my my praise for you from history. So
I thought that's pretty cool. But go ahead.
So there was actually a third confirmation of John Wilkes Booth at the Ford's Theater, and that one happened the next month in December 2011. My friend Troy Klein, who is also a medium on Inspired Ghost Tracking, happened to be there after we were, and so he went to see Our Christmas Carol. And now I didn't mention any of this stuff to him at all, and he sent me text messages from the theater, usually whenever he's in a place and he encounters a ghost, he'll send me text messages and he'll try to get my take on it. So it was kind of it's kind of interesting. So I wrote his text messages down in my book, and he wrote, quote, "Arrogant, hateful male presence in the back of the gift shop."
Lemonade.
Yep.
What's that?
Oh no, he's talking to talking to someone else.
Oh, okay. So Troy texted me that he also sensed an arrogant, hateful male presence in the back of the gift shop, and he said, "I don't know who it is." And I said, so I texted him back. I said, look up from where you're standing and tell me what you see. And he replied, "I am standing right in front of the John Wilkes Booth souvenir exhibit."
Yes.
Second confirmation from another medium. So that's 3 mediums who sensed John Wilkes Booth in the same exact place.
Nice.
So some of the other the websites I went on afterward have said that they've heard laughter, flickering lights, and footsteps also in the theater, and even maybe the sound of a gunshot. So John Wilkes Booth was probably the most infamous ghost I encountered, and if you're sensitive, go to the Ford's Theater and you may be able to sense him. But he's not in the theater; he's in the gift shop, and that's because that's likely where the alleyway was, where his horse was waiting on the other side. So there were 2 other ghosts when I went to see A Christmas Carol, and they weren't on stage. One turned out to be a mysterious man that I just couldn't concentrate on him because he happened to be coming to me during the performance, and he actually kept pushing me from the back, trying to get my attention, and I finally had to tell him quietly to leave me alone because I was trying to get enjoy the performance. But the third ghost that I encountered actually gave me a lot of information. She was an actress, and she said her name was Marcia or Marcy, something like that. And she showed me a dressing room backstage where it looked like she was sitting in a mirror in I don't know, sometime in the 1860s or 1870s, something like that. So ghosts can show you things from the time that they lived as a way to confirm their identity. She even showed me what she looked like. She had long brown curly hair, dressed in an off-white lacy dress with a frilly high collar, and she was performing the night of the president's assassination. She also showed me that she watched the president's body move through the city on a horse-drawn dark carriage. And she showed me, here's the interesting thing. I mean, I always look for confirmations. She showed me that there was a black cloth draped over his coffin. And and that's really weird for presidents, because often they're draped with a U.S. flag. So, right? So I thought, there's no way that, I must be misinterpreting this. So when I came home, I checked photos of Lincoln's funeral procession, and the coffin was covered with a black cloth, not a U.S. flag. Yeah.
Why do you think that is?
I don't know. I'm going to throw that to you because you're the historian. So
I'll get back to you on that.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So that was really strange, and so that's the way that ghosts will use throw something out there to confirm their identity.
So, there's your next project.
Yep.
You got to let us know why.
There you go. So there are a lot of ghosts in Washington, D.C. And I'm sure wherever you go, you're going to run into some. But that between Dr. Mudd's house and the Ford's Theater, you can encounter both John Wilkes Booth and Dr. Samuel Mudd.
Now,
put together a piece of history.
Definitely was draped with a black cloth.
Somebody said in chat that Dr. Mudd was where the expression came from. Here's mud in your eye.
Well, I actually have I've done posts on Dr. Mudd's house. Samuel Mudd, right?
Yes.
Or Dr. Mudd, yeah.
Samuel.
Yeah, I got a couple posts that I've done.
See, Roger, we're bringing out the historian in Christina.
I know, right? His home is now a museum.
Yes.
Yep.
I've been there 3 times, actually. And every time I go, he knows that I can sense him. So he comes.
Voices are often heard. One reported to be that of David Harold. John Wilkes Booth is also believed to be roaming the house along with the spirits of the Confederate soldiers.
So people ask me, this is an important point too, because people ask me, how can a ghost, if a ghost is usually fixed in one place, how can they appear in a second place? And the answer is that sometimes ghosts will be strong enough to generate a portal. What a portal is it's a doorway of energy that rotates. Think of, it's like a sideways hurricane. In the Belmont Mansion, where I give talks in Baltimore every month, there's a portal, and that portal is in one room on the second floor, and the other portal, the exit to that portal, is in the cemetery behind the house. And I've learned that the reason that there's a portal from the inside of the house to the cemetery is because one of the ghosts lived in the house and wants to go visit the cemetery, because that's as close as they can get to their loved ones. So they go through the portal, back and forth, back and forth. And John Wilkes Booth, his ghost can likely go from Ford's Theater to Dr. Mudd's house.
Now, what about the barn where John Wilkes Booth was supposedly
killed?
Yeah. Would his portal not go from there to the theater, or from the theater to there?
I don't know.
I would think that if you were going to have a portal between 2 locations, it would be a traumatic experience at each end of it.
Well, that's a good question. I'm not sure. I don't know what the mindset is behind. I guess it's you have to really get into the mind of the individual ghost to figure out why they would choose those locations. I would assume that he may not want to be reminded of the site of his death, and maybe the site of his greatest victory, and the place where that he thought he was going to find refuge with Dr. Mudd. I'm not sure. Again, it's really, you really have to analyze the individual personality of the ghost. So, and I really don't want to deal with him anymore, to be honest with you. He is not a nice guy.
Well, the thought occurred to me, though, that you had Lincoln's assassination in the theater. That would have been your tragic experience number 1, and then his death in the barn would be tragic experience number 2.
Yeah, he may not want to be reminded of his death, because oftentimes people who are murderers think that they can just get away with things forever, and that because this guy certainly was proud and arrogant and
then of course, those who claim that he didn't die in the barn, that he was seen in such and such place like so many years later. I mean,
well, I don't know about that. All I know is he's dead now, and he's in Ford's Theater. So go there and you can find him.
Well, I believe I'll pass for right now. But,
okay. Well, okay then.
Not saying that I wouldn't like to see it, but
yeah, I understand. So we can move on to the second haunting, if you wish.
Okay.
The second haunting is a place called the Book Escape. Now, the Book Escape is still open. I went there on October 23rd, 2010, and I actually went to give a talk there about how ghosts and spirits work. And the second part of that was, after the talk, I went on an investigation of the bookstore, because they talked about some paranormal happenings. So the Book Escape is located in the Federal Hill neighborhood of Baltimore.
How old is the building?
The building goes back to the early 1800s.
Okay.
And the Book Escape is actually made up of 2 townhomes that were brought together. and there's actually a little courtyard in the middle of the two buildings.
Oh, cool.
So they actually bought 2 townhomes and made them into one big bookstore. So in 2010, I went there without knowing any of the history or anything. I was just invited to give a talk up there because a friend of mine knew the owner and said, Rob just published a book. Would you like him to give a free talk? And he said, sure. So we did that. It turned out, by the way, that the Washington Post sent up a reporter and a videographer, and they followed me and on the investigation. Bless you.
Thank you.
They followed me in the investigation with another medium and the manager of Inspired Ghost Tracking, Margaret Ehrlich, and we went downstairs to the 2 basements of the 2 different townhouses and explored. So, Roger, you're having a tough time tonight between smoking and choking and sneezing.
And
What's going on over there in Tennessee?
Rain, flooding, sneezing, coughing.
I see. Watch out for the locusts. They're next.
Oh, Rob, before you, casket veils are often to cover the coffins. They're called mort cloths. It's a veil that is placed over the corpse inside the coffin. It traditionally black to signify mourning, but other colors would be accepted.
That's interesting. So I wonder, did
Why
they also
would
have the
it-
American
why would
flag?
it be black cloth versus the flag? I'd have to look into that, but
Yeah.
that's just something I found. So
Interesting. Thank you.
yeah, no problem.
There's our history buff.
Yeah.
it
See, she's.
is interesting to know though why they wouldn't
Yeah.
drape a flag over it versus a cloth.
At some point, I'm sure there was probably a flag used, but probably not right at the moment when they brought his body out, and carried it through town or whatever.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay, go ahead, continue.
Okay. Well, I think I think his dog wants me to continue. Okay. Yeah. All right. All right. So we established the fact that these were 2 townhouses that were put together, and they were in the 1800s. So when I walked through the front door, I immediately got a headache on the back side of my head, which is usually where I get a headache whenever I'm in the presence of a ghost or spirit.
Okay.
It's because energy gives me kind of an overload in my brain, and that's how I know when I'm in the presence of a ghost or spirit. So, so the building's owner was there, and she told me that the buildings were constructed in the early 1800s, and that there was a tunnel underneath the right side of the building that was filled in more than 100 years ago. It turns out that that tunnel was, we went to the doorway, that filled-in doorway, and there was a lot of energy there. I told her there was a lot of emotional energy attached to that, and she told me that that tunnel was actually used in the Underground Railroad to bring slaves from the Inner Harbor safely through to the house. So that was interesting. So that left kind of a residual energy imprint of emotion on that tunnel. So what we proceeded to investigate the basements, and then I'll get into some of the weird things that happened upstairs. And again, remember, the bookstore manager asked us to come because of there were many weird things that happened in the place. So we brought an EMF detector, electromagnetic field detector, because ghosts are energy.
Yep.
And we could detect them. And we brought a thermometer to detect cold spots that we mentioned earlier. And we brought a digital recorder so that we could record any sounds, because ghosts and spirits speak at higher or lower frequencies than we can hear, but digital recorders pick them up. And by the way, dogs and cats can hear those frequencies, so they can hear ghosts and spirits when we can. So we had all that equipment, and myself and another medium, Linda. So Linda and I were using our heads, and Margaret was using all the other pieces of equipment. So long story short, we descended into the basement on the right side of the building. Again, 2 townhouses, right side, left side. And the Linda and I were drawn into the back of the building, the back of the basement. If you've ever been in the basement of a bookstore, it's pretty crowded. I'll just tell you that. Linda and I both detected a male energy, and I detected that male energy, that ghost, was not very friendly, or he just wanted to be left alone, because he made me say out loud that there's a ghost in the back, and I'm not going to go back there yet, because he was just kind of grumpy.
Okay.
So Linda got the name William, and I also was hearing the name William. And we conferred later, and we determined that we both got the same name. I actually heard with my ears a man's voice say, "Go away," and it was
Nice.
actually picked up on the digital audio file. So
wow.
even
You
the
heard it with your ears, and it was also recorded.
Yes, yeah,
Okay.
so that's a pretty strong ghost. So he was using a lot of energy. So my impression that he didn't want us there was confirmed by hearing the words "go away" and also hearing the EVP "go away," and it was a man.
Yeah.
It was a man's voice. So that confirmed that it was a man, and it very well could have been William. Linda, the other medium, said that he was wearing a black or dark suit, looked like the 1800s, like 1837 or something like that.
Wow.
And she saw a string or a ribbon on him. So I sensed that the man was either a lawyer or a police officer, an accountant, someone who wears a suit, and someone that works with records, because I kept seeing books open that he was working in, like a big ledger or a legal book.
Okay.
Well, later on, I learned who William really was, and all of the big ledger made sense. The dark uniform made sense, or the dark suit made sense, and I'll get to that in just a minute. So I'm going to keep you hanging. So when we were down in the basement, there were no orbs or mist at all that appeared in photos. There was really nothing that showed up in pictures, because we started taking pictures. So we went upstairs, and then we decided to go down the other basement. Now, the other basement was kind of smaller, and you kind of had to crawl into it. Linda did not feel comfortable. She was somewhat claustrophobic, so she didn't go down the second basement. Fortunately, I'm a little guy, so or unfortunately, I'm a little guy, so I was able to squeeze in and go down there. And that's when we started taking more pictures, and I got a really, really severe headache. And I actually, Margaret, the group's founder, said she remembered me yelling "ouch" pretty loudly. And I sensed that William's ghost had actually followed us from the basement on the right through the wall into the basement on the left, where we were. So he was really close to me. So I took a lot of pictures, as we do when we were on paranormal investigations. And I actually got an orb, which is the most simple form a ghost can take for your listeners. Just a round ball of light, which has a design or maybe even a face in it sometimes. That's how you know it's an orb and not a reflection or a piece of dust or pollen or whatever. But so William made me really feel like we were not welcome there.
Okay.
What happened next was that the videographer was behind me from the Washington Post, and he actually caught the orb on film, and then we both watched the energy, the battery in my camera drain down to 0 in a second.
Wow.
And the red outline of a battery flashed on it, and it was dead.
Dead.
Now, those are brand new batteries in my camera. So William had absorbed all the energy in my camera. So after he did that, we felt that I sensed that he just turned around and he disappeared, and he went back to the other side. So what we found out was what we were able to figure out was that he is the intelligent haunt. He is the interactive ghost that haunts the Book Escape. But he wasn't really harmful. He was just kind of grumpy. He just wanted to be left alone. And he particularly likes the basements. So he lets employees go about their business, mostly on the upstairs. But once in a while, he's actually helpful to them. Who he is. This was interesting. My friend Craig, who lives in Baltimore, loves to investigate stuff. He's a kind of an amateur historian. He's like you, Christina. He's like a version of you. He can find anything, and you can find anything. So he went through history. A lot of history. He went to City Hall and he looked all kinds of things up. He looked up the owner of the lot of those two houses in the 1800s, 1837. And he found out that one of the people that owned one of those townhouses was a police officer named William H. Callahan.
Nice.
There's the William. There's the uniform. There's the badge or the decoration, the dark uniform, and there's the William. So it all made sense. We actually were able to find out that he was a police officer that lived in the 1800s, and he owned one of those houses. And William never left.
Yes.
So there's a photograph of William in my book, Lessons Learned from Talking to the Dead, in one of the chapters, the chapter about the Baltimore Book Escape. I'll tell you a little bit about what he did. It's kind of fun, actually, what he did with the people in the Book Escape. I interviewed a couple of people upstairs after the investigation, and one employee said that he and his girlfriend were up there painting one day, and they were painting one side of the shop when the shop was closed, and his girlfriend saw a coffee cup move from one side of the counter all the way over to the other side of the counter, and nobody was there.
Yeah.
Then he said, oftentimes he or somebody else, another clerk, will be looking for a book, and they won't know where to find it, and they'll walk into a room, one of the rooms in the Book Escape, and that book, the one they're looking for, will be on the center of the floor.
Open?
Just fallen right in the middle of the floor. And he said that every time, not every time, but sometimes when he's looking for a book and he doesn't know where to find it, the book will just appear in the middle of the floor in one of the rooms. So William is actually there finding the books and throwing them on the floor for the employees.
Yes. Nice.
So he may be grumpy when people are around, but he's very helpful too. He's still doing his police duties and helping people from the other side.
That's awesome.
Long after he's dead.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, so if you're in Baltimore, the Book Escape is still open. It's still in business, and you can visit it. It's on Light Street in Baltimore. So write it down for anybody who's listening and lives in the Mid-Atlantic. It's a great place. It has a lot of used books, more used books than you can ever imagine. You can find anything and everything in there. So, and say hi to William next time you're over there.
Right.
You know, and you don't hear a lot of stories about helpful ghosts. So whenever those come along, they're pretty neat.
Yes, absolutely.
That's a grumpy one.
You hear a lot about grumpy ghosts and angry
Yeah.
ghosts and all that. But
that's for sure.
I remember one story that I came across where people moved into a house and they had a spirit there, and at first it was kind of like you said, it just get out of my house and leave me alone,
Mm-hmm.
And then eventually it started opening the gate for the cars to come in and all those kind of stuff, So I thought that's pretty neat, So I guess it got used to them, decided that like the people after all, well, I'll just go open the gate for you. Here, grab on in,
Well, we do, like we've been saying, you maintain your personalities when you pass over. So if you're helpful on this side, you're helpful on that side.
Well, some people I think are loners when they're here, and they're loners when they're there. It's like carrying with you whatever traits you had. If you like being alone when you were alive, you're kind of going to want to hang to yourself when you're not. But I guess even people like that can warm up to people, I guess, after a while.
Yep. It's true. You can warm up to anybody after a while, I guess, especially if you can't move and you're stuck someplace.
That's true. Maybe they decided, well, hey, living here alone all this time wasn't as much fun as I thought. I kind of like having these people around. I can scare them, poke them, preach them, prod them. I'll be nice and open the gate for
them. That's right. So I think what do we have? We have 20 minutes left.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, 22.
So there was one other haunted story I was going to share with you, if you'd like.
Yes.
Okay. This is another one that's just chock full of history for you, Christina. It's called the Montpelier Mansion, and that one is in Laurel, Maryland. Have you ever been there?
No. But I have posted about it.
Yes. Roger, have you ever been to the Montpelier Mansion in Laurel, Maryland?
No, I haven't.
Okay, well, this is going to be a little historic treat for you too, then, I guess.
Yeah.
So, Inspired Ghost Tracking, the group that I belong to, was invited to go to the Montpelier Mansion back in 2011, and we were invited to. We brought 3 mediums, and myself included, and several of us brought scientific equipment. So we wanted to find out what ghosts were really there, because many people that worked there actually had a number of experiences, and they wanted to find out who they were and what they were doing there, and why, really. So a little bit of history for everybody. The Montpelier Mansion is actually located on 70 acres of parkland. It's a big place. The mansion's not on 70 acres. The mansion's not 70 acres, but it's on 70 acres of property. So this one is actually managed by the Maryland National Capital Park and Planning Commission, and it's in Prince George's County, Maryland. So the house was actually built between 1781 and 1785. So there's a lot of history there. The original owners were Major Thomas Snowden and his wife Anne, and they of course married and had children, and George Washington and Abigail Adams were even entertained there. So, George Washington, I don't know if he slept there, but but he was there. Then again, back then in 1774, it seems like George Washington got around. He was everywhere down here.
Yeah, chopping down cherry trees and stuff.
Yeah. So now the house is actually a museum, and they actually furnished the rooms the way they looked in the 18th century, all the way up until 1830. So there's a garden, and it's really a nice property. It's actually they do art. I think they do art out there now. So long story short, we went into the investigation, and when I first walked in, I got another headache. I got as I sat there longer, that headache really increased. So that meant that the ghosts were really strong in that house. It either meant there was one ghost that was very strong, or it meant there were multiple ghosts. So we all heard a brief history about the Snowden family, which were the former owners, and then we walked through the dining room. Now, the dining room is usually a place where people gather, of course, and they have celebrations and so forth, and it can be a lot of residual energy. Residual energy is like a thumbprint left behind of emotions. So you can find good emotional energy there. I get lightheaded, and I stumble through there, and when I entered the room, I sensed a man standing near the fireplace, and he stood between 5'8" and 6 feet tall. He wore a dark or navy blue jacket and a white shirt. He also had dark curly hair and long sideburns, and he didn't say anything. This was a ghost, and he just stood there, and I couldn't figure out who he was or why he was there. So I left the dining room, and then I went into another room. One of the other mediums came out afterward, was talking to one of the members, who brought him over. The other medium's name was Troy. It turns out that the other medium had described this ghost exactly the same way as I did. He said he sensed a tall, slender man up to 6 feet tall with dark curly hair, and the man stood silently in the corner of the room. So to get two mediums who weren't in the same room at the same time to describe the ghost exactly the same is a pretty incredible confirmation. So I still don't know who this guy is at this point. But later we actually found a painting. There were a bunch of historic paintings in the house. So you can actually see paintings of all the people that lived there. So I was standing next to the other medium, Troy, the one that sensed the same man I did. And we were looking back and forth between two paintings, one of Mr. Snowden and one of Mr. Snowden's nephews. And Troy walked over to me and said, what's interesting is that the man in the dining room, the ghost in the dining room, looks just like Mr. Snowden's nephew, but not quite right. Not exactly like him. And that was the exact same sense that I got. We both felt that the man that was standing in the dining room was actually a combination of the two men, the two different paintings.
Okay.
So I don't know who he is. You know, maybe the paintings were off, certainly. But again, that was another weird thing, is that we both sensed the same thing in our description of this man. So there was the bottom line was there was a ghost that was in the dining room. He was a man, and he was standing there, and we don't know why he was there. But he was an intelligent haunt. It wasn't actually residual. He just wanted to stay silent and watch. So, you know, as you go through a house, you really have to pick and choose where you go. I'm going to throw a question out to both of you. When you go on paranormal investigations, do you tend to go where you're drawn, or do you cover one floor at a time?
I usually go wherever the kinds of activities happen at.
I'm not usually drawn anywhere. I usually just cover the whole 9 yards of it.
So you go like one floor at a time?
Yeah. Okay.
Well, we usually do that too, but for some reason, well, we were drawn to go up to the second floor. We came out in this big hallway, which was actually the original front door of this house, and I asked the docent who was giving us, like, walking us around. I said to her, "Is there a stable out, or was there a stable outside of this door? Because I'm seeing horse-drawn carriages, and I'm seeing visitors coming in and out of the store. I'm seeing residual energy." So, and I keep seeing a lot of people come in and out of this door. And she said there was in fact a stable outside of that particular door. It was down a hallway, so there was a front door and a back door. And I didn't know which way was front and back. You can't tell anymore because, you know, everything's different. The landscaping is different nowadays than it was when it was built. But she did say that there was a stable out that door that I pointed to, and she did say that that's where all the horses and carriages would come up and bring people. So I was sensing the energy, the residual energy of people coming to visit. And residual energy can be good energy or bad energy. So right after that, I actually sensed a woman ascending the staircase to the second floor. So that's when we decided we were going to go upstairs. And it turns out that one of the other investigators had worked at the Montpelier Mansion before, and she was with some kind of a sewing club or something. And she actually was working in a room upstairs, and she saw a woman in a blue dress. And when she turned around again, that woman disappeared. She said it was like a robin's egg blue dress. So it's interesting because that was the same room that I sensed that the female ghost had disappeared in. And she didn't tell me that story until after we came out of the room, and I told her that there was a woman in that particular room. Again, I got another confirmation that from the other medium that he also sensed a woman in that room when he went up there at a different time. We tried to keep separate and then compare notes. He also said the woman was wearing a blue dress, and she didn't seem to mind people going in her home, but she didn't want people in that particular room. And that's exactly the same feeling I got. When I went in that room, the woman made me feel like it was her bedroom and she didn't want anybody in her bedroom. So,
okay.
So ghosts can convey, you know, she still lived there. She loved the house. She wasn't evil. She didn't stay behind because she committed any crime or anything. She just loved her house. And that was the bottom line with that.
Nice.
So you don't have to be a bad person to stay behind. You can just stay behind and love your house and live in it until it's gone, until it falls apart around you.
Well, and isn't it also true though that even let's say the house fell down?
Yeah.
In her mind's eye, it's still standing there. She's still in her bedroom.
It could still be there. Yeah, and you know that's a good point, because when people do renovations and they wall up where doors were or whatever, ghosts will walk through walls where doors once were.
That.
Yeah.
I remember watching a video where there was an apparition that walked right through the side of a house, and it was one of the old clapboard style houses. And I said there was a door there. When she lived, there was a door there. She was just going through the same door she went in and out of all the time.
Yeah.
So so we left that mansion. We had an understanding of the two entities that lived there, and we shared that, of course, with the people that managed the mansion. But it was a man and a woman. Obviously, the woman was a former homeowner, but I don't know who the man was. We don't know if they're related to each other. We have a little more information about them, certainly about the woman's personality and where she lived and what she did and how she dressed, but and that she doesn't really want anybody in her bedroom, which is good. Yeah, it's good advice. But we don't, I don't know why the man was there, but we do know that the woman wanted to stay because she loved her house. So I guess that's the most we can ask for sometimes when we do these paranormal investigations. At least we get some answers.
Yes, absolutely. It's been a great show. Thank you very much, Rob, for everything.
Oh, sure. Well, thanks for allowing me to share some of the hauntings and the lessons I've learned from talking to dead people and dead pets. And it's been really interesting talking about all of these things.
I do have one question though that just kind of popped in my head. When you can communicate with animals.
Yes.
How does one communicate with animals? I mean, since they don't have the I don't know, the words like we do? I don't know. Do you see visions? Do they just head? I mean, how does that work? I'm just curious.
That's a great question. And the answer is yes to all of the above. Um, our our pets typically know certain words in our language. You know, we take them to obedience school and they learn different words. They also learn different objects. They learn what different objects are, like couch, car, you know, squirrel, certainly. Squirrel.
Yes.
Um, uh, they also read emotions and they can convey emotions to me, just like human spirits do. Human spirits
Yes.
can make me feel love. They can make me feel anger, hurt, whatever. Just pets can make me feel the same kinds of emotions. Pets, like human spirits, can also show me images in my mind. So they
Right.
can show me what a favorite toy is. They can show me their favorite place to sit in the house. That's how they confirm their identity. One woman wrote me and asked me something about her dog, and she said, "How do I know it's my dog you're talking to?" And I said, "Your dog is showing me a yellow duck," and you know, whatever. I said, but for some reason he's showing me this yellow duck. This was his favorite toy, and he's showing me that he brought it everywhere. And she said, "Oh my God, that was his favorite toy, a yellow duck. How did you know that?" And I said, "Because
Yeah.
your dog made me see a yellow duck in my mind."
Yes. Okay. That's awesome.
Yeah, so they can convey words, they can convey pictures, emotions, anything that they hear or sense in the physical, they can convey to me.
Nice. Awesome. Roger, you got any more questions for Rob before we go?
I'm having an issue with my freaking chat room.
What's wrong with chat?
It disappeared and now I can't get it back up.
Oh, well, I can't help you
Oh,
there,
I'm in
Roger. I can only talk to dead people. And I can't fix your weather either.
Well, gee.
I can only report it.
Well, as long
I
as
think that's great. That's awesome.
So, Roger, here's what I want you to do next spring. Buy a rowboat. And that way, if you get heavy rain, you'll be ready. Okay?
our rowboat will travel.
There you go. So for everybody listening, you know, it's all about energy. Spirits are always around us. Whenever we need them, they'll guide us. They'll help us. They'll counsel us. They want us to enjoy life. They don't want us to feel guilt or grief. They are fine on the other side. If you have anybody that you know that maybe took their own life or did something bad to you, just tell them that you forgive them. Sometimes it can be really hard to forgive people. You know, there are people that are still earthbound as ghosts that maybe were abusive in life, physically or mentally. And it's really hard to forgive those people. But we need to know that they're dead and they're not coming back and they understand what they did wrong and they just need to help. They need help crossing over. They need to find peace so they can move on. And they're always very sorry for what they did in the physical because they usually couldn't help it. So that's a little bit of a word of advice there. For anybody that wants to find me and ask me questions online, that you just type in Facebook, you type up Rob Gutro. I have 2 Facebook pages, Ghost Medium and Rob Gutro. And if you type up robgutro.com or petspirits.com, it all goes to my website.
Nice.
And all 4 books are on amazon.com. The 2 pets and the 2 people. And I'm really honored to say that all 4 of these now have become Amazon bestsellers in the paranormal categories, which means they hit the top 100. So that means that based on the number of emails I get, that means a lot of people are actually learning how to see signs from their loved ones and getting comfort. Yeah. I just wrote these, Christina, because I want people to be comforted that their loved ones are still around. And that's what these books teach them. So
that's awesome. Thank you very much.
We appreciate very much you coming and being with us.
Thank you both. It's been a pleasure.
Been an awesome time, even with the laughs and giggles there and there.
I wish you nothing but sunny skies.
And your weather forecast. But yeah, great time. Thanks everybody in chat. We appreciate you guys and ladies.
Always.
John UPR made it in. He was late, but he's here. And right off the top of my head, let me see. Do we have something for the next bi-weekly?
We do. I'm going to work on that afterwards, but we definitely do.
I'm trying to.
I think Stefan's coming on next time.
I'm looking at my my book of records there, and
What?
now we had moved you, Mr. Rob, up to the 10th, and I think at the time we had Corey.
Oh, Corey's next. Okay, I'll talk to Corey.
So we need to move him to the 24th. Yeah. Okay. And I thought we did, but we had ran into an issue and we had to move Rob there up a little bit. But that's all good.
Yeah, because you had thunderstorm.
Yeah.
You had storm.
Yeah, the storms were hitting. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about this weather thing here, you know. Man, they were pounding us that night.
Yeah. I'll definitely get with Corey, so that's not a problem.
We were under tornado watch and the storms were pounding all around and it was like this big freaking red thing everywhere.
That's a good thing you weren't online, because if you were on your computer during a thunderstorm, you actually can be affected by lightning.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So be safe.
So we just kind of canceled, moved you up a little bit, but that's all good.
Very good.
Anyway, we appreciate it one more time. Thanks everybody out there that watched and didn't chat. And hopefully on the 24th, we're going to have Corey with us.
Yep.
And we will continue to carry right along. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.